All right, so you're thinking about bringing in a unit testing expert developer,
Great idea.
but how do you even begin to find the right person?
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming.
There's a ton of info out there, but this deep dive is going to help you cut through all that noise and figure out what really matters when hiring for this kind of role.
We're going to break it all down for you.
Exactly. And hey, if you want to get a head start on your search, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com.
They've got some amazing resources.
Yeah, especially this tool they have called the 5 questions.
Yeah,
It can really help you zero in on what you need in a unit testing expert.
it's a great starting point.
So let's talk about something everyone wants to know: salary. Our research showed that salaries for unit testing experts can vary a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, what factors really influence how much they make?
Well, location's a big one.
Yeah,
Like you'd expect Silicon Valley is going to be different from, say, a smaller city.
right. That makes sense.
And then there's experience. A developer fresh out of boot camp won't be making the same as someone with years of experience.
So it's not just about the title, it's about what they bring to the table.
Exactly. And of course, the specific languages and frameworks they know play a role too.
So if you're looking for someone who's like a ninja with PyTest for Python, you might need to be ready to pay a premium.
That's right. It's all about supply and demand.
So budgeting for all this can seem kind of daunting. How do you even begin?
Well, theperfectdeveloper.com can be a huge help here. They have a ton of data on salaries and can give you realistic expectations.
That definitely takes some of the pressure off. So let's say we've got a rough budget in mind. What are the different ways we can actually hire a unit testing expert?
Well, you've got a few options. There's the classic full-time employee.
Right, someone dedicated just to your project.
Exactly. But there's also part-time.
Which is great if you don't need someone full-time, or maybe you're working with a tighter budget.
Right, exactly. And then you've got the choice of in-house versus outsourcing.
So in-house, they're part of your core team.
Right, which can be fantastic for communication and collaboration.
Makes sense. But outsourcing could give you a wider pool of talent.
Yeah, but it might need a little more effort to manage.
It's like choosing between having a dedicated chef or ordering takeout.
Yeah.
Both can be great. It just depends on what you need.
I like that analogy. And again, this is where theperfectdeveloper.com can really help you. They can walk you through all the pros and cons of each model.
Okay, so we've talked about salary and hiring models now. Let's get to the skills. What should we be looking for on a unit testing expert's resume? I mean, programming languages are obviously important, but is it just about checking off a list?
It's a good place to start, but it's more than just listing languages. They need to really understand how to use those languages for testing.
Okay, so they need to know how to actually put those languages to work.
Exactly. Look for experience with the relevant testing frameworks.
So if they're working with Java, they should know. Genium for C#, it's NUnit, and for Python, it's PyTest.
That's right.
So it's not enough to just know the language they need to know how to use it as a testing weapon.
Exactly. And keep an eye out for anything that mentions test-driven development or TDD.
Oh yeah, TDD.
This is where a unit testing expert really shines.
So tell me more about that.
It's a methodology where they actually write the tests before they write the code.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's super powerful and it leads to much more robust and reliable software.
So it's like building a blueprint for quality right from the start.
Precisely. That's why a skilled unit testing expert is so valuable. They don't just fix bugs, they help prevent them.
Now that's the kind of developer everyone wants. But resumes can be, well, yeah, how do you know if they really know their stuff?
You're absolutely right. That's why you need to look beyond the resume.
So what should we be doing?
Look for examples of their work in their portfolio.
So it's like checking out their testing trophy case.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask them about their process. How do they approach a problem? What kind of test coverage do they aim for? That'll give you a much better sense of their expertise than just a list of skills.
That's great advice. It's like getting a peek behind the scenes to see how the magic happens. But we've got to wrap up this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we've got more to come.
Make sure to stay tuned for part 2, where we'll go even deeper into the world of unit testing experts.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our deep dive on hiring unit testing expert developers.
All right, so before the break, we were talking about how important it is to look beyond the resume to really see how a developer approaches testing.
Yeah, you want to get a feel for their style.
But let's face it, interviewing developers can be a little intimidating.
I know what you mean.
Any tips on making that process a little less scary?
Well, think of it more as a conversation. You're trying to figure out if this person would be a good fit for your team.
Okay, so it's not an interrogation. It's more about finding a testing soulmate.
Exactly. And a great way to see how they approach things is through a live coding session.
Live coding. Isn't that kind of like asking someone to do brain surgery right there in front of you?
It might sound intense, but it's actually a really effective way to see how they think on their feet.
So it's like watching them navigate a testing obstacle course.
Exactly. You see how they break down problems, how they design their tests, how they handle those unexpected challenges that always come up.
Okay, so it's about seeing those testing skills in action, not just hearing them talk about it,
Exactly.
but finding the time to do all these live coding sessions and reviewing portfolios.
Mm.
It just seems like so much work.
I hear you. And that's why a platform like theperfectdeveloper.com can be such a game changer.
Wait, really? So they can do more than just find candidates.
Oh, yeah, they go way beyond that. They have a really thorough vetting process that includes portfolio reviews, live coding sessions, and even cultural fit assessments.
So they're like matchmakers for developers.
Precisely. They can help you find the perfect developer who not only has the right skills, but also fits in with your team.
Now that's what I'm talking about. So let's say we found our testing superstar, thanks to theperfectdeveloper.com. What's next? How do we make sure they hit the ground running?
Onboarding is key. Make sure their development environment is all set up on day one, all the software licenses, access to the code repository, everything they need should be ready to go.
So it's like rolling out the red carpet for a coding ninja.
Exactly. But it's not just about the technical stuff, right?
Right. How do you make sure they feel like part of the team?
The human element is so important. Introduce them to the team, have them meet everyone face to face, even if it's virtual, arrange some coffee chats or team lunches, anything to help them build connections.
It's all about those water cooler moments, even if the water cooler is digital. But keeping top talent is a challenge in any field. How do we make sure our testing superstar sticks around?
Retention is huge. You've invested so much in finding this person, you want to keep them happy.
So how do we do that?
It starts with recognizing their value. Make sure they know you appreciate their work and that they're making a difference.
So those shout outs and meetings and those thank you emails, they're not just nice gestures, they're actually strategic.
Absolutely. And don't forget about professional development. The best developers are always learning new things. Support them in going to conferences, taking courses, pursuing certifications. It shows you're invested in their growth.
It's like giving them a power up for their testing arsenal.
Mhm.
But we've covered so much already, from salary and skills to interviews and even retention. Is there anything else we should be thinking about when building a unit testing team?
You know, one thing that often gets overlooked is diversity of thought.
Diversity of thought.
Yeah, you don't want everyone approaching testing from the exact same angle.
It's interesting.
A team with different backgrounds, experiences, even personalities can come up with much more creative and comprehensive testing strategies.
So it's like having different martial arts styles represented in your testing dojo.
Exactly. You want people who will challenge each other, who can think outside the box and come up with those aha moments that lead to better software.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about individual brilliance, it's about building a team that works together and really elevates the quality of the software.
That's it. And when you create that kind of environment where everyone feels valued, supported, and challenged, the quality of your software will reflect that.
So we've talked about technical skills, soft skills, cultural fit, diversity of thought. It's a lot to consider.
It is, but it's worth it.
Mm.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. ThePerfectDeveloper.com can be an amazing partner in helping you find and hire the best unit testing experts out there.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We were just talking about how important it is to build a team where everyone feels valued and supported.
Right, because even if you have a rockstar unit testing expert on board, they still need the right environment to really thrive.
It's true. You could have the most talented developer in the world, but if they're not in a collaborative environment, their potential is limited.
So how do we create that ideal environment? What makes a team culture really excel at unit testing? Well, one of the biggest things I've seen is a commitment to quality at every level of the organization.
Okay, so it can't just be the testing team's job. It needs to be part of the company's DNA.
Exactly. And that starts with leadership. Leaders need to set the tone, make it clear that unit testing is important, and empower developers to make it a priority.
Makes sense. And what about communication?
Oh, yeah, that's crucial. You need a culture of open communication where developers feel comfortable talking about challenges, asking for help, sharing what they know.
So it's like creating a testing dojo where everyone can learn and grow together.
Exactly. You want everyone to feel safe to try new things, make mistakes, and learn from each other.
I've heard of some companies that even have rewards for developers who write the best tests.
That's a great idea. It can make testing more engaging and even fun.
So it's all about building a culture where quality is valued, communication is open, and everyone is learning and growing. Sounds like a pretty awesome place to work.
It really is. And when you have that kind of environment, you'll attract top talent and keep them around.
Because who wouldn't want to work somewhere like that? So we've talked about a lot in this mini deep dive. The skills to look for in a unit testing expert, how to go beyond the resume, the value of live coding sessions, and the importance of a strong team culture.
It's a lot to take in, but remember, theperfectdeveloper.com can help you with all of this.
They're an incredible resource for finding the perfect unit testing expert for your team.
And don't forget to check out the 5 questions tool on theperfectdeveloper.com.
It's a great way to get started and figure out exactly what you need in a unit testing expert.
All right, folks, that wraps up our mini deep dive on hiring unit testing expert developers.
We hope you found it helpful and that you're feeling more confident about finding the right person for your team.
Remember, building a great team is an investment, but it's one that will pay off in the long run with better software, happier customers, and a more fulfilling work experience for everyone.
And with that, we'll say goodbye for now. Happy testing, everyone.